Continuing to learn Hilchot Teshuva of the Rambam, and today we're in chapter 2, Perek Bet. Over here, the Rambam tells us that there's something called Teshuva Gemura. Ezri Teshuva Gemura, what is a complete Teshuva? In other words, the Rambam implies from that a person could do Teshuva Gemura and also Teshuva not Gemura, a partial Teshuva and a complete Teshuva. The תשובה that's considered תשובה גמורה, he says, זה שבא לידו דבר שעבר בו ואפשר בידו לעשות ופירש ולא עשה מפני התשובה, לא מהירה ולא מכישלון כוח. Which means, the Rambam says that sometimes a person fell into a sin. Then he becomes more likely to sin again because he fell in it already. So it's easier for him to fall again in that sin. And if that very person comes across that very test of coming across the same place that he sinned with the same scenario as he sinned, and he's able to overcome that test, although he has his still same strength, he's not like anymore weak, old, or something like that. If such a person is able to conquer his Yetzer Hara, conquer the test, that's considered Teshuva Gemura, as he explains over here, example of somebody who sinned and he came across the same exact place with the same exact scenario, with the same exact strength that he has, and he's able to conquer his Yetzer Hara at that moment. That's considered Teshuva Gemura. And then he says that if a person does Teshuva, on the other hand, when he's elder, Im lo shav ela bimei ziknato, when he becomes old, he doesn't have anymore the strength to sin the same way that he did when he was young. And then he does Teshuva. He says, although it's not a complete Teshuva, it's not Teshuva me'ula, a great Teshuva, it's still somewhat Teshuva, and it helps him, and that's considered still a Baal Teshuva, and his sins are being erased. And I was thinking that since there are 4 elements in the Teshuva, as the Rambam explains here, he says that there are 4 elements that a person needs to do in order to complete the Teshuva. מהי התשובה? Continues the Rambam says, שיעזוב החותך חטאו ויסירנו ממחשבתו ויגמור בליבו שלא יעשינו עוד. 2 ingredients in it is, 1, he completely leaves the sin, he doesn't continue doing it. Secondly, accepts for the future not to continue doing it. And thirdly, יתנחם על שעבר, he feels regret. And fourth, he's mitvadeh bedvarim. He also does a vidui, he confesses the sin. When a person does those 4 things, he's a Baal Teshuva. So what does it mean, Teshuva Gemura, not Teshuva Gemura? What happens over here? Here we found the Chidush. And the Chidush is brought down in many of the Sfarim. I saw it in the Sefer of Rav Aaron Kotler. I saw it also in Yalkut Yosef of Rav Yitzchak Yosef on Yamim Noraim, and other places as well. And that is that a person indeed needs to do a complete Teshuva and completely fulfill all the 4 steps that we said, and with that is a Baal Teshuva. But sometimes a person is not able to. He tries, he's not able to. Sometimes he knows that he can do 1 or 2 of the 4. Sometimes he's doing Teshuva over certain sins, but others he's not able to. Is that also accepted in Shamayim, in heaven? And the answer is, says Rabbeinu Yonah, lekol Teshuva yimatzeh slicha. Anything that you do will find in Shamayim a slicha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will atone that and will forgive that. And therefore, if you do Teshuva over 1 sin and not for the other, that also helps for that sin. Don't think that a person is like all or nothing, but rather you could also, if you feel that you can't completely fix everything you do, fix whatever you can right now. This is the time, try to fix whatever you can. Moreover, this is the Lashon of the Rabbeinu Yonah, but the Mabit says even within those sins themselves, since a person has to do the 4 steps that we explained, 4 ingredients as we explained, leave the sin, accept for the future, regret, and confess. If a person didn't do all 4, he did partial, he did 1 or 2, it also helps. And it also somewhat Teshuva, although it doesn't completely erase the sin when you don't do the whole 4 things, but partially it does. It's not like it's nothing. Although the Rambam says that it's like a person that confesses but he still sins. It's like tovel v'sheretz biyado. It's like a person that goes to the mikveh and he holds in his hand a sheretz. Sheretz is a certain insect that's metameh, that makes you impure, and you go into the mikveh in order to become pure. Holding that doesn't help at all. So therefore you see that confessing without stopping sinning is nothing at all. But the Mefarshim explain that it's not really comparable, because if a person confesses and he doesn't mean to sin, lichora it's chutzpah. What are you saying, that you sinned and you continue in sinning? It makes things even worse. But rather it doesn't work like that. You see that it's compared to going to the mikveh. So a person that goes to the mikveh, although he still holds that sheretz, but it's a good maaseh, it's a good deed, it's something that helps out. It takes his sin from being maybe something that's very bad as a pesha. Pesha, we explain, is somebody who's rebellious, or somebody that does bemezid, he does it knowingly, to somebody that does such a thing without